All right, let's jump right in. We're diving into something pretty fascinating today. President Prabowo's new cabinet, the Kabinet Merah Putih, is having their first retreat.
And it's,
But this isn't your typical, hotel conference room situation.
yeah, it's definitely not your typical government get-together. No stale coffee and boring speeches here.
Right. So imagine you're a newly appointed minister in this cabinet, and you get an invitation to a retreat, led by the president himself. Sounds pretty standard so far, right?
Right. Seems pretty normal for a new cabinet.
But then you find out.
Yeah, but here's where it gets interesting.
Yeah.
The retreat is at Lembah Tidar.
Lembah Tidar. Okay. For our listeners who maybe aren't familiar, what is that?
So Lembah Tidar is the valley that houses the Indonesian Military Academy. And there's more. You'll be wearing matching military-style uniforms, complete with camouflage patterns.
Whoa, hold on. Military uniforms. That's definitely not something you see every day, especially not for government ministers.
It's a first in Indonesian cabinet history, actually.
Wow. So we've got this military academy setting. We've got the uniforms. This is starting to sound less like a retreat and more like, I don't know, boot camp.
Well, it's certainly unconventional, but I think there's a deliberate message being sent here.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's break this down. First of all, why Lembah Tidar?
Right, why there? It's not exactly known for, relaxing spas or anything.
Exactly.
Well, Lembah Tidar is steeped in history and symbolism. It's 503 meters above sea level. And it's considered the Pakana Jawa.
Pakana Jawa, which means...
It's the spiritual foundation of Java Island.
Wow. Okay, so there's a lot of weight to this location already.
Exactly. And it's also the training ground for the Indonesian Army's officer corps.
Right, the military connection.
And this is where it gets even more interesting. President Prabowo himself is an alumnus of this very academy.
Oh, wow.
So the choice of location is very deliberate. It's symbolic. It speaks volumes about the kind of cabinet he wants to create.
I see. So it's not just a random location. It's like he's sending a message with this choice.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've got the historically and spiritually significant location. Then we add in the military-style uniforms. What's the thinking behind that? Just optics.
It's definitely a striking image, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not just for show, according to Wamen Bima Arya, the Minister of Home Affairs, and PCO Hasan Nasbi.
Okay.
They've both emphasized that the uniforms are meant to foster a sense of Pembekalan.
Pembekalan. Now, my Indonesian isn't that great.
It translates to togetherness or solidarity.
Gotcha.
And remember, this cabinet is larger than the previous one, so building that unity right from the start is crucial.
Makes sense. You've got all these different personalities, different backgrounds, different ministries all having to work together.
Exactly. It's about creating a shared identity, a sense of purpose.
So it's like they're all on the same team, literally wearing the same uniform.
Right, exactly. Like a sports team.
So I have to ask, are they going to be doing drills? Obstacle courses. I mean, they've even set up 120 tents at the Borobudur International Golf and Country Club within the academy grounds.
Yeah, it really does make you wonder, right?
Yeah. What exactly are they going to be doing there?
Well, they'll definitely be engaging in physical activities, team-building exercises. That's all been confirmed. The retreat runs from Thursday, October 27th to Sunday, October 30th. So it's a good chunk of time.
Okay, so a few days of intense bonding.
You could say that. It's clear that President Prabowo is looking to shake things up, create a very different dynamic within this cabinet.
He wants to expedite collaboration between the ministries, right?
That's right. I think he's recognized that this cabinet is going to have to work together very closely to achieve his goals.
Okay, so we've got the location, we've got the uniforms, we've got this emphasis on teamwork and unity. But I'm sure some people are wondering, and I have to admit, I'm wondering too, is this all a bit much?
Yeah, I can see why some people might be raising an eyebrow.
Is this some kind of, I don't know, military hazing ritual? Is there a sense of intimidation here?
Well, that's a valid concern, but Hasan Nasbi is very clear in his statement.
Well,
It's not about aspect, which is, orientation hazing.
I see.
Or militarism in general. He emphasized kebersamaan, which we know means togetherness, kaguyuban, which means harmonious social interaction, and of course, coordination.
So it's not about forcing people into a rigid military structure. It's about breaking down those barriers between ministries and creating that shared sense of purpose.
Precisely.
All right, so we have unity, collaboration, a strong dose of symbolism, and a very unique setting. Definitely an unconventional approach.
It is, but that's what makes it so fascinating, right?
It is. I mean, it makes you wonder, is this just a really creative team-building exercise, or is it a glimpse into a new, maybe more assertive style of leadership under President Prabowo?
That's a million-dollar question, isn't it? And that leads us perfectly into the next part of our deep dive, where we'll explore some of the possible implications of this retreat and what it could signal for Indonesia's political landscape. It's interesting, actually. Hasan Nasbi brought up the historical significance of Lembah Tidar when he was defending this unusual retreat.
Oh, right. Because it does have a lot of history.
Yeah, and he specifically highlighted it as a symbol of struggle, heroism, underlining those patriotic undertones,
Right.
which seem to be a defining characteristic of this new cabinet. You know, it's aptly named the Red and White Cabinet.
Yeah, yeah. It's like they're tapping into something deeper, like Indonesian identity, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
And it's not just the destination. Even the journey to this retreat is significant.
Oh, how so?
They're all flying out together from Halim Perdanakusuma Air Base,
Oh, wow.
using military aircraft.
Die.
Hercules for the ministers, and of course the presidential aircraft for Prabowo. It's like this very carefully choreographed display of unity, even before they get there.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's not just about the destination, but the journey itself.
Exactly. Every detail seems intentional. From the attire to the mode of transport, it's all part of the narrative.
It seems that way.
And speaking of details, we can't overlook the fact that this is a first in Indonesian cabinet history. Never before have ministers worn military-style uniforms for a retreat.
Right.
Benga Arya even mentioned they received a full set of attire, including camouflage patterns and shirts. It's definitely a bold move.
It's certainly a statement, and I think it raises an important question. What kind of message is being sent with this choice of attire, both internally to the cabinet and externally to the Indonesian people?
Right.
Is it purely symbolic, aimed at fostering a sense of shared purpose, discipline? Or could it be interpreted as a subtle projection of authority, maybe even hinting at a more militaristic approach to governance?
Yeah, it's a fine line, isn't it? Because on one hand, you have the team-building aspect,
Right.
fostering collaboration, which is essential for any effective government. But then on the other hand, there's the optics of it all,
Yeah, the optics are important.
and the potential for misinterpretations, especially in a country with a history of military involvement in politics.
Right, and that's why it's so important to analyze these events not just at face value, but within the broader context of Indonesia's political and social landscape. And this retreat, it comes at a time when Indonesia is facing a specific challenge. Could this be a strategic move by Prabowo to consolidate power, project strength?
That's an interesting point. So let's shift gears a bit and talk about the intended outcomes of this retreat.
Okay.
We know Prabowo is emphasizing teamwork, expedited collaboration,
Yeah.
but what does that actually look like in practice?
Well, Mensesnek Prasetyo Hadi, the Minister of State Secretariat, has said that the larger size of this cabinet necessitates a more proactive approach to interministerial cooperation.
Okay.
And he believes this unconventional setting will help break down those barriers,
Right.
foster that stronger sense of shared purpose.
It's like they're all being put through a shared experience, a kind of crucible to make them more cohesive. And holding it at Lembah Tidar, a place already associated with discipline and national service, reinforces those ideals.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you were a minister in this cabinet, how would you feel about all of this? Would you see it as valuable team building or something maybe a bit more unsettling?
That's a great question. And it gets to the heart of whether or not this retreat will actually be effective.
Right.
The symbolism is there, but will it translate into tangible results? Better policy making, smoother coordination between ministries, and ultimately better outcomes for the Indonesian people.
Only time will tell, I guess. But one thing's for sure, President Prabowo is sending a very clear message. This cabinet is going to be different. They'll be united, disciplined, ready to tackle the challenges. Just like those Makan Lembah Tidar,
Makan Lembah Tidar.
the Tigers of Tidar Valley.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that train at the military academy?
Ah, okay.
It's a powerful image.
Yeah.
And whether this unique approach is ultimately effective or just symbolic, it's a departure from the norm. And it sets the stage for what's sure to be a very interesting chapter in Indonesian politics.
Agreed. Definitely something to keep an eye on.
Now let's delve a bit deeper into the historical and cultural context of Lembah Tidar. Like we said, it's considered the Pakana Jawa, the spiritual heart of Jaja. It adds another dimension to this whole retreat beyond just the military setting. It's like they're drawing on the spirit of Java,
Yeah.
imbuing this cabinet with a sense of, I don't know, ancient power,
Right, like they're tapping into something deeper.
of resilience.
Yeah, it's this fascinating mix of modern politics
Right.
and these age-old traditions and beliefs.
Yeah, it really is. And the name Tidar itself, actually.
Oh, is there meaning?
Yeah. It's believed to be derived from the words mukti and karadar. Mukti represents happiness, success, high rank,
Okay.
and karadar means being tested, forged through challenges.
So the name itself speaks to the experience Prabowo is aiming for.
Exactly. It's like he's saying, this isn't just about forming a cabinet. It's
Right.
about forging a team that's going to come out stronger.
Yeah, stronger after facing challenges together.
Exactly. And there's another interesting layer to Lembah Tidar.
Oh, what's that?
So it's got a diverse ecosystem, over 75 plant species.
Wow.
It's currently designated as a city forest,
Okay.
but some scientists believe it has the potential to be a botanical garden.
So not just history and symbolism,
Yeah.
but also nature.
Yeah, they're immersed in nature. It's a retreat in the truest sense of the word.
Right, a chance to disconnect.
Yeah, to step away from the chaos of Jakarta, reconnect with something bigger.
Maybe that's part of the plan too, you know?
Right.
Get them out of their usual environment.
Encourage a shift in perspective.
Exactly.
It's definitely a far cry from the typical cabinet meeting, that's for sure.
Yeah, no stuffy conference rooms here.
You know, I have to say, I kind of appreciate the boldness of it all.
Yeah,
It's a gamble, but it shows a willingness to break with tradition.
to try something new.
Yeah, that's always interesting to see.
Absolutely. Whether it pays off or not remains to be seen, but it's definitely generated a lot of buzz.
Yeah, people are watching.
Domestically, internationally, everyone's curious to see what comes of this experiment in cabinet unity.
And what it could mean for Indonesia's future.
Exactly.
Which brings us to the most important question of all.
Yeah, what does this mean for the Indonesian people?
Will this translate into better governance, improved living standards, a more prosperous future?
That's the real measure of success here.
It is.
You know, the symbolism, the uniforms, the team building exercises.
Right.
All of that fades away if it doesn't lead to real improvements in people's lives.
Right. Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly. So as we wrap up our deep dive,
Yeah.
we leave you with this. Keep an eye on what happens next.
Yes.
Watch for those concrete actions.
Don't just focus on the symbolism.
Judge this cabinet by the steps they take.
To address those real challenges facing Indonesia.
Because at the end of the day, the true measure of leadership isn't about grand displays, but the quiet, persistent work of building a better future for everyone.
Well said. And that's a wrap on our deep dive into this fascinating, unconventional, and definitely thought-provoking cabinet retreat. Until next time, stay curious,